Hello again. We are Chris Lee and Chase Robinson here to preview Florida's trip to Knoxville to face the Tennessee Volunteers. You can catch that 6 Central on ESPN. BetOnline.ag has Tennessee by 15.5 points with an over-under of 54, making for a predicted final of Tennessee 35, Florida 19. My model has got Tennessee by 15. The Vols had a really disappointing game in Arkansas where they just couldn't move the ball the way people thought in getting upset in Fayetteville. Florida, meanwhile, is quietly playing a little better ball, followed up a win over Mississippi State with a win over a UCF team in a game in which Florida, I think, was a field goal favorite or less. And I thought a bad matchup, but the Gators won that one and are showing some signs of life on defense in particular, which I don't think they've been good there so far. Very interesting setting as we go to one of the SEC's biggest rivalry games around, Chase.
Yeah, it is an interesting matchup because you're right about Florida. I feel like they're trending up. I feel like they're playing better football. They have not whatsoever given up on this season. They see. I feel like, and after the win over UCF, they see the potential that they have. I thought they had a good game plan. They executed well against UCF, and so yeah, I think Florida's starting to come into themselves a little bit. It is a tough schedule. It's a long road Florida has ahead of them, but I do feel like they're playing better football. And yeah, you're catching Tennessee after a loss, and that could be good or bad of Tennessee maybe playing mad after that loss. Or, Florida can maybe do some things that Arkansas was able to do well. So I think it makes for an interesting matchup. And seeing that this series Florida has done well in, we'll see how Saturday goes.
Okay, let's dive into the matchup starting when Florida's got the ball. And here are the numbers. Florida's offense averaging 30.2 points a game, just 59 snaps a game. That's not a high number. They turn it over 1.4% of the time. The Gators run it 51% of the time. Sacks are taken out of that. 5 yards per rushing play, 9.1 per passing play, 7 yards per play total. Tennessee's defense, the numbers, 9.4 points per game allowed on just 60 snaps. Turnover rate, 2.7%. Teams run it 55% of the time against the Vols, 2.4 yards on rushing plays, 5.4 on passing plays, 3.8 total. Chase, the Gators have a 2-quarterback system that's kind of working right now. They've got Montrell Jackson Jr., who's one of the league's best running backs, has not been super hot out of the gate, maybe slowed by injuries and just some tough matchups as the Gators have played a tough schedule. But I feel like Florida's a sneaky good offensive team. It's got some nice weapons in the receiving and tight end room. Of course, Tennessee, the defense, as good as the offense has been even better. James Pierce Jr. there to cause havoc. They've got just a lot of depth on the defensive line. Secondary is where the biggest question has kind of come in. I don't know that anybody's been able to really exploit that yet. But this is kind of an interesting side of the matchup here. I think Florida's offense may be a little better than people perceive.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the 2-quarterback system. We didn't know how that would work, but I feel like it is to an extent of them being able to utilize both guys, and they both have strengths and weaknesses that maybe could counter each other. And so you bring the guys in on different packages at different times. I think that could work for Florida and the way Billy Napier is handling that. And anytime you have 2 quarterbacks to prepare for, it could be tough on the opponent, and maybe they can catch Tennessee off guard there. But you mentioned it with Tennessee, defensive front so good. James Pierce, kind of the anchor of that, and guys who may not be, you may not see them in the stat column for Tennessee defensively, especially on the front, but they cause so much trouble and wreak so much havoc against their opponents. Yeah, they may not be recognized, but they do a lot for the Vols. It's a really good defensive front that we're going to continue to see, and I think that will cause a great challenge to Florida to be able to work going against a lot of pressure that they'll see.
All right, let's flip sides of the matchup. Before we do that, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. If you think you know your stuff, get in on our $200,000 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and earn a share of $200,000. It's going to be interesting to see where the lines go in this, because Tennessee, the better team, but boy, there's a series history I'll unpack later that makes this confusing. Anyway, when the game is over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on all the action. Bet online, the game starts here. Tennessee's offense struggled more than it has struggled all year, and I thought Florida came up with its best defensive performance last week against UCF in a matchup I did not think was a favorable one for the Gators. That's not how it played out. When the Vols have the ball, here are the numbers: 46 points a game on almost 75 snaps. That's a lot of snaps. Tennessee turns it over just 1.1% of the time. They run it 60% of the time, 6.2 yards on running plays, 8.0 on passing plays for 8.9 total. Florida's defense is allowing 24.4 points a game, 72 snaps. That's a lot for the defense to be out there. A turnover rate of just 1.9%, 4.6 yards per running play against the Gators, 6.6 per passing play against, 5.5 yards per offensive snap against Florida. Remember, this team has played a tough schedule. Chase, Tennessee struggled to throw the ball downfield last week, but Florida's really struggled to stop the run, and that's what Tennessee does really well on offense, among other things.
Yeah, you get a guy like Dylan Sampson of Tennessee loose in a game like this, and he can go to town. I really like Tennessee, the way they've been offensively. Yeah, they had trouble moving the ball against Arkansas, but that's going to happen. You're not going to have a perfect game every time, but I feel like Nico Iamaleava can run the ball. Dylan Sampson's got 12 touchdowns on the year. Deshaun Bishop, another guy who's really come on. I thought he's had a good year. He's got 306 yards on the year, averages about 7.5 yards per carry, a few touchdowns himself. And so I think the run game is so strong for Tennessee. Teams are going to have a hard time stopping that. And I think Florida, that could be a concern there of Florida stopping this run game with those 3 guys.
All right, let's get into picks and why. And before we get there, I said an interesting series history. Since 2004, when Tennessee beat Florida 30-28 in Knoxville, it's been an annual series. Tennessee has won twice, in 2016 and then again in 2022. And I think we keep just every year, like, surely this is a year that Tennessee takes control, and then other things happen. Last time this was in Knoxville, Tennessee won that 38-33 when the gap between the teams in the end was bigger than it was. I mean, Tennessee had an outstanding team and maybe was going to the college football playoff if Hendon Hooker stays healthy. Instead, Florida even played them close then. Point being, I think Tennessee is a decided favorite in this game. I understand the line, but man, every time you jump into that trap, Florida's got something else coming. What are you thinking when you're picking this game?
I'm going Tennessee in this one. Look, I think Florida could make it close at the beginning. I think coming off that loss, though, for Tennessee to Arkansas, they're going to be playing to prove something. I think Florida catches them at a bad time because they are out to prove something. I think Tennessee wins this game. And again, I think maybe Florida can keep it close to the beginning, but I don't think they can sustain what Tennessee can do offensively all throughout the game. So I'm going with the Vols.
Yeah, it may be a trap, and it may not turn out the way Tennessee fans want. But at the same time, you just kind of got to go with a better team at home. And if you want kind of a reason beyond the fact that they're 15-point favorites, there's a stat that bothers me if I'm Florida's coaching staff, and that's this. My defense is on the field an average of 72 plays a game. I'm giving it almost or a little bit over 4.5 yards a rushing play. Tennessee is on the field 75 snaps a game and averaging 6.2. I don't know that it'll be spectacular. Florida's defense has gotten better, but just that run stat, I feel like if you can run the ball and control the running game, they have got an advantage both sides of the ball. I think Tennessee is a better team than it showed last week. Maybe some issues got masked with kind of an easy schedule early, but I'll go the Vols. That feels like the right play. We will be here to talk about it afterwards. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button so you see all our videos. Cover baseball, basketball, football year-round. Caroline.smith@southeastern14.com. If you want to reach an audience of millions a year, which we do, hope you'll contact her. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16, presented by Bet Online.